Greetings, everyone. This is Rob Sanders with Simplilearn. Thank you for joining, and today we're going to cover digital marketing interview questions and answers. So thanks for joining again, and here's how it's going to work. So we broke out a few questions and answers in different categories. A lot of you are going to be interviewing for some jobs out there, and some of the jobs may be an SEO manager or search engine marketing manager or email marketing manager or content marketing manager or social media manager. So we broke up those questions into those areas. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with SEO. We're going to go through some questions and I'm going to explain the answers to those questions. So if you have any questions to these questions or answers, feel free to just comment right below this video and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So let's get started. We're going to start with SEO, search engine optimization. We're going to go through a series of questions and I'm going to answer those questions for you. Okay, so the first question that you might be asking in an interview is differentiate between do follows and no follows. Okay, so if you've taken or listened to my SEO courses on YouTube for SEO, we talked a lot about do follows and no follows. And simply put, I mean, do follows are just signals to the search engines to follow the link. So there's a link on site A pointing to site B. We're going to basically tell Google, Bing, and some of these other search engines, hey, go ahead and follow that link. Now, a no-follow is just the opposite. So no-follow link doesn't allow the search engine crawlers to follow it. So if we have a link on our site, site A, pointing to site B, we can put a no-follow tag in there. And what that's going to do, it's going to signal to the crawlers, hey, don't follow this link. So in the end, if the crawlers don't follow the link, then there's not going to be any link juice passed. And so Google is not going to give you credit or give that site credit for having a link pointing to it or pointing to another site or from another site. And so it's all about linking. So we can control if there's links on our site, whether we want the crawlers to recognize those or not, simply with no follow tags. So just a reminder, link juice is the reputation or equity passed from one website to another. So if you have a link on another website and that website is of high quality, meaning their page authority, their domain authority is high, they have a lot of content, they're not spammy, they're really rich and they're relevant, then you may want to make sure that the link pointing from that site to your site is a no follow. So that way that Google can recognize the link from that site to your site. And basically that reputation is going to be passed on to you. Okay, so that's a do follow versus a no follow. And why would we do a no follow? Well, it just depends. It really depends. A lot of social media platforms like Facebook have no follows. If you have a lot of content, you may not want to be pushing out a lot of do follows. It could actually look bad from an external linking standpoint. And so a lot of sites are really particular about who they want to pass link juice onto and give credit for the link. So it's a business decision at the end of the day. There's really no hard, fast rule here, except from an SEO perspective, if I have a site and I have a lot of external links pointing outward to other sites, I'm going to be particular about who I allow the search engine to follow and what links I allow not to follow. Okay, so here's an example of what they look like. So do follow is simply just the href. Notice the no follow has the tag appended to it, the href tag with a no follow. So if the search engine's crawling your site and they see that no follow there, they're not going to follow that link, and vice versa. If there's a link on another site pointing to yours and there's a no follow there, you're not going to get credit. The search engines aren't going to pick up that link. Okay, so question 2, what is 301 redirect and how is it different from a 302 redirect? So 301 redirects tell users in the search engine specifically that an original page has been moved, and this is the key word here, permanently. So permanently moved. We're going to explain that in a minute. So it's just moved from one page to another. And so if we don't have a page anymore, but we have a new page, let's just say you built a new website with new URLs, you want to make sure the old page is pointing to the new page with a 301 redirect. So if a 301 redirect is permanent, then a 302 is temporary. So we want the search engines to recognize that we have 301 permanent redirects in place. Why? Because if we have temporary, then it might alert Google to not keep that page in its search engine rankings because it's temporary. So why would Google want to keep a temporary page or even a page that is pointing to another page on a temporary basis? So they may remove both pages from its index. Okay, but if we have something permanent in place, Google may say, okay, this page is permanently linking to another page or redirecting to another page. Therefore, it's stable, it's permanent. We're going to keep that new page in the index and eventually remove the old page. So really, something permanent is more stable in the eyes of the search engine. Something temporary may not be as stable in the eyes of, say, Google. And if they don't see it as stable, then they may remove both pages from the index. Okay, so the idea is we want to be found in Google Search Index, and we get it. Sometimes pages go away for a variety of reasons. And if it does go away, just make sure you have a new page for it. And that new page is a 301 permanent redirect. Okay, so question 3. Why are backlinks important in SEO? Well, we kind of hinted on that a bit with the nofollow. Because if we have a link from another website pointing to ours, and that link from that other website is really relevant, and it has a high page and domain authority, then it's going to benefit us. And so backlinks are important because if we have backlinks from high quality sites, it's going to improve the credibility of our site, especially if it's a do follow tag. So the search engines are going to recognize the relationship between the site that has a link pointing to us. Okay, so it's just going to build our credibility. It's going to increase our domain authority. And then the net effect of that is if we're credible and we have high domain authority, then that's going to increase the rankings of our pages. And when the pages increase in ranking, then we're going to get more of a lion's share of the traffic for certain keywords that our pages are found for. And if our pages are found and getting traffic, then because we have increased rankings, we're likely going to have increased traffic. And then it's just a snowball effect. So more traffic leads to more engagement and conversions. So the whole idea for SEO is, remember, you have an on-page strategy and an off-page strategy. Building external links is part of an off-page SEO strategy, and we want to make sure that we are relevant in the form of a link or in the form of content on other high-quality sites. Being on a high-quality site only benefits us because, again, increases our domain authority. Google sees us as more relevant. Therefore, our pages are going to benefit by ranking higher, and therefore, when we rank higher, we get more traffic. So it's a snowball effect. So having backlinks is important because it snowballs all the way through to conversions. Okay, so what are the best practices to rank your videos on YouTube? This is a great question, really great question. Given the importance of videos, especially with SEO, because videos are found. YouTube in itself is a search engine. So if we have a video, how are we going to get it to rank on YouTube? Well, first things first, you never want to put a video out there and want it to rank if it's not engaging or informative. So make sure you go ahead and follow the best practices of having engaging and informative content in your video. Now, once you have that video in place, you want to optimize it. And then some of the key factors for optimizing a video are you want to choose a title that has high search volume and low difficulty. Just as you would keyword, for example, for a web page, you want to choose a title with a keyword in it that has high volume and low difficulty, i.e. low competition. Okay, so you want a nice ratio there. And you want to choose a title that's going to get people to watch the video too. So it's not all about just choosing a title just for the sake of high volume. You also have to choose something that's relevant, that's going to be catchy as well. And then with that title goes the description. So you want a description that's very relevant to your title, okay? Because most people aren't going to click on a video just for the sake of the title. They're going to want to probably get a sneak peek via the description of what it is. So again, you want to optimize that description, but make sure the description is just as snazzy as the title. Okay, you also want to use accurate and relevant video tags, just as you would on Twitter or Facebook. Tag these videos. Okay, so make sure your title tag length doesn't exceed 100 characters because it will get chopped off. So again, that goes back to just writing something really short and to the point that's going to grab somebody's attention. Okay, you also want to upload a captivating thumbnail, something that's relevant, that's going to grab somebody's attention. And then again, we set it similar to the video tags. We want to use relevant hashtags. Again, just as you would with Twitter and Facebook, go ahead and throw some hashtags in there that people could see because people search via hashtagging. And then this goes without saying, you did all the work, created a really great video. It's engaging, it's informative, you optimized it. Feel free to promote your video on other social media platforms. Okay, don't just stick with YouTube per se. So the benefit here is if you post it on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever platform of your choice and it gets engagement, people click on the link, go to YouTube, they're going to like it, and then other people are going to see that engagement. They're going to see how many people liked it or how many subscribers you have. So promote your videos to help you with the ranking of the video on YouTube. So that does play into it. So go ahead and promote it so other people can watch it, like it, comment, etc. And that's going to engage other people to want to do the same. So what is mobile first indexing? This is a really important and timely question. Mobile first indexing means Google's just using mobile friendly content for indexing and ranking websites. So in other words, Google, for example, has two bots. They have the traditional desktop bot and they have a smartphone bot. And eventually everybody that has a website is going to be migrated over to the smartphone bot. And so if that smartphone bot goes to your website and starts crawling, what do you think they're looking for? Their smartphone bot, they're looking for mobile friendly content. If it's not mobile friendly, meaning the page isn't designed for a smartphone browser, or let's just say the images are way too large, or you have to expand the text just to read it. You know, a lot of these issues that somebody would have just simply trying to read something on a web page on their mobile device, Google's not going to grab that content. So you want to make sure it's mobile friendly so it gets indexed. And so if your website has a responsive design, Google will rank your website based on its performance on mobile devices. Okay, so you want to make sure that your website is mobile friendly. And if you're in an interview and somebody asks you this question, you could even take it a step further and say, look, I'm going to measure how friendly my website is for mobile devices in Google Search Console. Because Google Search Console has a report that will show you what pages on your website are not mobile friendly. And it's not a guarantee, but I could tell you if I'm Google and I'm crawling your site with my smartphone bot and that page or one of my pages is not mobile friendly, I'm probably not going to index it or rank it. So you want to leverage that report in Google Search Console to see what pages are mobile friendly. So that's a little bonus for you to really impress the interviewer who asked you this question. Because how are you going to know if one of your pages is mobile friendly or not if you don't look at a report? So keep an eye on Google Search Console's mobile usability report. Okay, number 6. List down the most important local SEO ranking factors. Okay, so organic local ranking is just as important as anything else in organic search. Because if you have a local business, you want to use the likes of, say, Google My Business to show up when somebody types in, looking for a florist or looking for a coffee shop. So what you want to do is you want to create a web page for every product and service. Okay, you also want to opt for your business listings on Google My Business. And there are plenty of other local business directories out there like Yelp, for example, or Bing even has one. So go ahead and also make sure you have a business listing as well. But since Google in the United States has a huge market share, you want to start with Google first. You want to update your NAP citations on your website, maintain consistency of your NAP. Okay, so NAP is name, address, phone number. So you want to make sure that that's current and consistent. So if you have a number on your website, make sure it's the same number on Google My Business. Okay, you can embed a Google map on your website. You could certainly optimize the meta tags and content, not only on your web pages, but within your Google My Business directory. So you can add your business to other local directories, like I mentioned, Yelp, and then Also, just as important, opt for reviews and ratings. Okay, so the more reviews you have, the better off you are. Okay, so I always say this with local search. 3 of the main factors in showing up for local search on, say, Google is obviously the keyword. The second is the proximity of where that person is. And then third is the reviews. So you can't really control the proximity, but you can control the keyword and you can control the reviews to some degree. So work hard at getting reviews for your business, but at the same time, you can certainly work in some keywords, let's just say for your product and service pages on your website, but also you can translate that over to Google My Business. Okay, so working in those keywords, making sure your number, your address, your name, they're all consistent. And really just spreading the business out on other directories. That's really, all these are really key factors for local SEO. Okay, so question number 7, how to avoid duplicate content, getting penalized for duplicate content. So for example, if you have 2 different versions of a web page, you may result in a duplicate content issue. So it's just SEO 101. You never want to have two or more pages with the same content. So what do? Well, we can avoid this in having Google penalize us by, again, setting up a 301 redirect. Remember, 301s are permanent. We can also use what they call a canonical tag. And a canonical tag basically alerts the search engines as to which page is the original. Okay, so if we have an original page, we want to point to that page with our canonical tag. And then the third option is opt for preferred domain in Google Search Console. Okay, so if you have multiple domains, make sure you set up a primary one in Search Console. So those are ways to work around it. Of this 3, I would always go with the canonical tags, because that's just a tag that's going to sit on the page. It's going to alert Google as to what the original is, just in case they get their hands on the duplicate. So all the pages that have the same content are going to have the same canonical tag pointing to one page. So again, 301s are permanent. You can simply just redirect one to the other if you end up having duplication, or you could just tell the search engines, hey, this is the original page, or you can go through Search Console. Okay, number 8, what are the tactics to increase a web page speed? Okay, so what are some of the tactics? Well, when you build a site, especially for mobile, you want to keep it as simple as possible. And what I mean by simple as possible, really, I mean, hey, use a simple website design. Don't get overly creative, if you will. Most websites, all websites have images. You're not going to be able to get around that, but just make sure you optimize your images. In other words, don't have such a large image size. If you don't need something very large, don't have it. Okay, you want to improve server response time. And what do we mean by that? Well, your site's sitting on a server somewhere. You can own that server, or you can be renting it out from, say, Amazon Web Services, or let's just say GoDaddy as your registrar. They also have web hosting. Well, if you have it on, say, GoDaddy's server, you may be sharing that server with other businesses. And at certain times of the day, other businesses may get a lot of traffic and suck up a lot of bandwidth. What is that going to do? That's going to reduce the server response time for your site. And so you want to make sure you have an idea of, what server your web page or website is on. And you want to be able to have some control over that. Because if your server response is slow, that's going to slow down everything else in terms of loading in the browser, and that's not going to be good for SEO. Okay, optimize your code. We mean by optimize, minifying. When we say minifying, we mean get rid of some of the redundant code. If you have CSS, get rid of the JavaScript you're not using. So that's what we mean by optimizing code. Reduce redirects. Okay, ideally, you just want to have one redirect in place. You don't want to create a daisy chain, so to speak, of redirecting and redirecting after that. That's never going to bode well, and it's going to slow things down as well. Enable browser caching. So if you enable browser caching, basically, if somebody comes back to the page they've been on, say, 2 days ago, they're probably going to see a cached version of that page. And then opt for the content delivery network as well. So these are some of the ways to reduce page speed. Now, if you're curious about the page speed of your website, you can always go to Google's Page Speed Insights tool. And all you have to do is just Google Page Speed Insights, or even just something generic like Google Page Speed. And you're going to get this tool, Page Speed Insights. And all you need to do is just plug in a URL. When you plug in the URL, Google is going to analyze the URL for both mobile and desktop. And so here we could see Google gives a score. So we could see the score for mobile and we could see the score for desktop just by clicking on desktop. And so here I could see some of the issues that the site may be having in terms of page load time for their desktop. If I flip over to mobile, here I could see some other issues. For example, they have a server static assets with efficient cache policy. Now, if you're not sure what the heck that means, you can always just click on it and you can see some specifics here, or you can just always Google it as well. Here you got to reduce the impact of third-party code. Okay, so that's another thing. Reduce JavaScript execution time. So again, going back to some of the comments we made about coding. Okay, sometimes too much code or code not functioning as well as it should will tend to slow down the site. Okay, so you can use PageSpeed Insights. You can always get a glimpse of how pages are loading simply by also going to, for example, Google Analytics. Under Behavior, okay, you can go to Site Speed, and if you click on Overview, okay, what Google does is they do a sampling of pages over time. And in this case, based on 89 page views, they have an average page load time. And so you can get a sense of how quick specific pages load your site overall simply by looking at the Site Speed Overview report in Google Analytics to get a sense of how quick your pages are loading. Now, there are certain factors that do affect load time. So obviously the way the page is built with the code, the images, etc., but also the browser. Each browser loads differently. Okay, so you want to take a look at it by browser, also by country. Every country has a different network. Okay, you can be in the United States and have worse network service than you do, say, in Ivory Coast in Africa. Okay, so it really depends on the network you're on. So, and also the page. Every page is built differently. So you want to get a sense of what pages are loading quicker and which pages are not. You can simply just go to page timings in Google Analytics and you get a sense of what pages do not load fast and which ones do. And maybe hone in on the pages that aren't loading fast and address those pages first. Okay, so you have two tools at your disposal, one Google Analytics and one PageSpeed Insights. Okay, so let's look at question number 9 here. So when should an individual target short tail and long tail keywords? Okay, so remember, short tail are usually 1 to 2 keywords, very broad in nature. Long tail keywords are maybe 3, 4 keywords in a query, or maybe an entire sentence. Those are considered long tail keywords. So usually short tail keywords have higher volume, but also higher competition. Longer tail keywords usually have lower volume, but also lower competition. But the great thing about long tail keywords, the conversion rate will tend to be a little bit higher than, say, a short tail because it's less vague and more specific. So you can use short tail keywords if you're trying to drive a lot of visitors because those keywords are going to be vague or broad in nature. Long tail keywords are used for targeted pages such as product pages and articles. So if you have a specific product with a long name, you can certainly optimize that page for that product name. Again, the product name may have low volume, but if somebody types in exactly that product name, you show up, the chance of them converting are going to be very high. So you don't have to always be that specific with the product name, but try and be as specific as you possibly can in order to get somebody to click on your link in the search engine results and get them over to your site to convert. Okay, so those are really the big differences. Short tail, very broad, very vague, a lot of volume, but also a lot of competition. But hey, if you're ranking for a short tail keyword, you're probably going to get a lot of traffic. The conversion rates may not be as high as something, say, long tail, where, hey, maybe you're just honed in on a few set number of products and you don't care a lot about the traffic. You just care about getting the relevant traffic to your site to convert. Okay, number 10, what are the important elements to focus while developing a website? So we're talking in terms of SEO. Okay, so if somebody asks me this question in an interview, what am I going to focus on while developing a website? Well, the answers are right here. Yes, we talked about mobile. Mobile is so important because a lot of websites are going to be indexed with Google Smartphone Bot. So mobile usability is very important. So we need to make sure our website is responsive for mobile. Just some basic practices when it comes to site architecture and navigation. We want to have a simple URL structure, okay? No overly cumbersome. The navigation should simply be clean and neat. Okay, if you have 5 products, okay, maybe you have in your navigation, you have something called products with all 5 listed, or you have all 5 products in the main navigation. The key is you just want to make it clean and neat and easy for somebody to find. The rule of thumb is if it's good for the end user, it's probably going to be good for Google. But if it's complicated for the end user, it's probably going to be complicated for Google. You always want to create a sitemap. Now, what is that sitemap? A sitemap is simply just a formatted file that includes all your URLs and assets, your images and your videos. They're going to be sitting on your server as well. So you want Google or these bots to be able to find your pages and assets. And by the way, you want to take it a step further and make sure you upload that sitemap, which is sitting in the root directory, meaning domain.com/sitemap.xml. Okay, you want to take that sitemap and make sure you input that sitemap location in Google Search Console. That way, Google Search Console has a one-way ticket to grab the elements in the sitemap. Another important element to focus on while developing a website is having a robots text file. And all a robots text file is, it's like a lock, I always say, to a house. So if you lock a door in your house, nobody's going to be able to get in that door. So that's all a robots text file is. You're telling Google and these other bots that are coming to crawl your site what's locked and what's not locked, meaning what they have access to and what they don't have access to. So you want to be able to make sure you have a robots text file if you're trying to non-index specific pages of your website. Because if you tell Google, don't crawl these pages or this directory, they're not going to get crawled. And if they don't get crawled, they're not going to get indexed. So robots text file is an important element to focus on while you're developing your website. And while you're developing your website, it could be on in a directory just called new website. So you probably want to have new website as the directory in the robots text file, and just to let Google know, don't go into this directory because it's my new website. I'm not ready to go live yet. So you don't want it indexed. So there are a lot of reasons to have robots text files. That's the main reason. Sitemap, you want Google to get these pages and assets quickly. Okay, you want to make sure that your site architecture navigation is in order. You want to make sure your site is mobile friendly. And you also want to make sure you have content on your website. That's the key, because that's what's going to keep people on the website and engaged. And when I say content, I don't necessarily just mean words. I also mean videos. I also mean images, something interactive. Okay, you want to keep people engaged. That's the key behind it. Trust me, if an end user finds your site engaging, Google is likely going to find your site engaging. Okay, so those are good brownie points to bring up if somebody asks you this question in an interview. So just to recap here, it's important to have a better site structure so that bots can easily access and index the content. Okay, with a responsive design, helps to make your website mobile friendly and user friendly. Would also increase the amount of time a user spends on your website, which may improve your site's ranking. Sitemap is simply just a file that helps search engine bots to understand the structure of the website. Okay, how many pages are on your website and where are they located, along with the videos and images. Okay, and then the robots text just instructs the search engine crawlers to understand what pages should not be indexed. Okay, this is simply just a text file, and it's added to the root directory. Again, think like a door, think of a lock. Okay, you can lock whatever doors you want in your house. Think of it that way. Okay, so those are our questions for SEO. Again, if you have any additional questions, or if there are other questions maybe you've been asked in an SEO interview, then go ahead and add them to the comments section below. We'd love to hear from you. Now we're going to turn our attention to search engine marketing. So let's turn our full attention to search engine marketing. So we're moving away from SEO and over to pay-per-click. And so you really have to know your stuff here. You really do. So a lot of the questions we're going to ask are going to be centered around Google Ads, formerly known as Google AdWords. And so if you're familiar with Google Ads, the platform, then you should have no problems whatsoever answering these questions. But That's why we're here and that's why you're watching. So if there's anything you want to add to any of these questions, as a reminder, feel free to comment under the video. And so right out of the gate, question 11, what is ad scheduling? So ad scheduling is a feature in Google Ads. And really all it does is allow you, the advertiser, to set up certain hours or days you want your ads to show. It's as simple as that. So if you have a customer that you're running ads for on Google search, and let's just say they have a restaurant and they're closed during certain hours of the week, then you can go into the ad scheduler and schedule your ads to not show when they're closed, as an example, okay? Because if somebody calls and they're not there to answer the phone, then it's not going to be good for the restaurant or you, the advertiser. And so that's why they have the ad scheduling. So it ensures your ads are not running when they're performing poorly. Let's just say you're running a business and you just don't get that much traffic during the weekends. Well, you can go in and adjust accordingly. It also is there to make sure you can serve your customers when you do have limited client service hours. So let's just say you have a customer service team that's going to answer phones for a couple hours a day. Well, again, you can schedule your ads to show during those couple of hours a day. And then really what it comes down to is you're making sure you can satisfy customer demand and supply. And so that means showing your ads when you can best fulfill the customer's needs. Okay. And so that's really what it's all about. And that's what ad scheduling is. So take advantage of ad scheduling. Schedule it according to the business hours, schedule according to how they can best serve the customer, schedule the ads when it's performing best. And don't schedule the ads when you know you're going to have poor performance. Okay, so next question. What are the different ad formats available on Google Ads? It's a trick question because it really does come down to what network you're advertising on. So Google has two networks, the search network and the display network. Okay, so on the search network, there's only one ad format, and that's text. Okay, so Google recently changed the format of the text ads. Now they're called expanded text ads. So here you can see you can have up to 3 headlines and 2 description lines. And then you can also have ad extensions. And so you can see here underneath the ad, you have what they call site links. So shop by category, in-ear headphones, on-ear headphones. Those are all site links to specific pages on the site. So text ads are available only on the search network, but they're also available on the display network as well. Then you have responsive display ads. Now, responsive display ads are only on Google's display network. Okay, so here you could see some samples of responsive display ads. And these ads adjust their size and format depending on the space available. So again, you could have text ads or you can have display ads. Now, display ads, again, come in different sizes. So you can create ads for a variety of different sizes. For example, 250 by 250 or 468 by 60. So those are some of the different ad types. There's a plethora of different ad sizes you can choose. However, your ad's not going to show on a website if they don't have that particular size available. So it's always best practice to create different ads, but create ads in different sizes as well. Okay, and then have a backup text ad as well, just in case the site doesn't even display a display ad for you or serve up a display ad. So you can have a text ad as a backup. Okay, so lots of different ad sizes, but this is the second ad format, and that's responsive display. And again, the responsive part is Google will automatically show the ad that's best performing based on a series of headlines, descriptions, and images that you provide Google. And so the responsive part is, hey, if this combination of headline, description, and image work best, meaning it has the best click-through rate, then Google's going to serve up that ad. So that's why they call it responsive. So obviously you can have just an image ad that's not responsive, again, across different ad sizes. They could be, again, 250 by 250, 300 by 300, 468 by 60. There's a number of different sizes. Google can provide you that information. But the one thing to note here is that when you do create an image ad, it could be JPEG, it could be interactive, or it could be static. So different types of image ad formats like PNG, for example, or it could be a static, or it could be interactive. So definitely take advantage of the different opportunities, meaning a static ad versus an interactive ad. You may want to have two variations of that so you could see which one works best. Okay, there's also app promotion ads. So these ads are used to drive app downloads. So you're going to have to set up a campaign accordingly. Okay, but here you can see this is what it looks like with a call to action. So it allows you to go ahead and click and install that app. So that's an app promotion. Again, if you have an app and you want to promote it, you can use this type of ad format to align with a campaign that's driving traffic to download your app. Okay, and of course you have video ads. Well, Google owns YouTube. And so if you have videos, you have the opportunity to advertise on YouTube. Okay, so these ads can be standalone or inserted into other streaming video content. And so to me, video ads work well with specific strategies. And what's one strategy you would use a video ad for? Brand awareness or education, explainer videos. And so YouTube allows you, the advertiser, the opportunity to get your ad, your service, your product in front of a lot of eyeballs. So that's the beauty of video ads. They attract a lot of eyeballs and definitely help with the strategy of, say, brand awareness. Okay, another ad format going back to the search network is shopping ads. So if you sell shoes, then you may want to think about having a campaign for shopping. So shopping ads work with Google Merchant. So Google Merchant is another Google product, and basically Google Merchant allows you to manage your inventory. So if you have 100 different types of shoes that you're selling, you can upload your inventory to Google Merchant, connects and talks to Google Ads. So basically what you're doing, you're setting up your campaign in Google Ads and connecting your inventory from Google Merchant to Google Ads. And so the great thing about the shopping campaign is it puts your product front and center. It puts the price, it puts any promotion that you have, and it puts the brand all front and center. So when somebody does type in, let's just say lime green sneakers or women's sneakers, and this particular shoe shows up here, the third one from the left, then somebody's going to see it's from the United Colors of Benetton. It's a woman's shoe. It's on Amazon and it costs $45. So the great thing about shopping ads is if somebody's interested, they're going to click. Okay, if somebody's not interested, say, well, it's a little bit more expensive. I can get something similar, another shoe on Amazon for less. Okay, they're probably going to click on that particular ad. So again, the great thing about shopping ads, put your product front and center with any promotion, the price, the brand. So if somebody clicks on it, then they're probably serious buyers. Okay, so that's the beauty of shopping ads. It allows you to get your product out there, and on the search network, it's a cost per click. So you're only paying for the click. So if somebody looks at it but doesn't click, you're not paying for that. So that's the beauty of shopping ads. And so you can showcase your shopping ads. So these ads have an image and a description that expand when clicked. So you can provide more information, more product and store information as well. You also have call-only ads. Okay, so call-only ads are enabled to users to connect with your business directly using the phone number provided. Okay, so it allows somebody on a mobile phone who, in this example, is searching for drywall repair. Well, if you're in the business of drywall repair, you can have your ad show up on mobile with a phone number, and somebody can easily click on that phone number and just call you directly. Now, the way call-only ads work is you're still getting charged for the click. Okay, so anytime somebody clicks and calls, you're going to get charged. And you're going to get charged just as you would if somebody clicked on your ad. So it works the same way. So it's a cost per click. Again, this is on search. So search is cost per click. And the beauty about call only is, again, you can track the calls right in Google Ads. So you can have Google Ads track how many people click on the number, and you can even count those calls as conversions if they meet a certain criteria. For example, the criteria is somebody talks to you for a minimum of 60 seconds or 1 minute. Then Google will count that as a conversion. So you can monitor calls right in Google Ads, and it's a cost per click model, so you can actually see what the average cost per click is. So moving on, Question 13. Okay, what is RLSA and how does it work? Well, RLSA stands for remarketing list for search ads. So if you're familiar with remarketing on display, it's similar. They just call it RLSA. Okay, so it enables you, the advertiser, to customize your ads for people who have visited your site, just like a typical remarketing campaign. Okay, so you could tailor your bids and ads to these visitors when they're searching on Google and search partner sites. Okay, so there are two basic strategies for using RLSA. Okay, so you can optimize bids for existing keywords for visitors, or you can bid on keywords that you don't normally bid on, just for people who recently visited your site or converted on your site. The key here is you're the one that's picking the customer. You're the one that's enabling the list. If you're trying to target people who went to your site and didn't convert, well, you could certainly optimize your bids for existing keywords for people who went to your site and didn't convert, or you could set up a whole new campaign for RLSA and have a different set of keywords with a different ad because you know who you're talking to. You're talking to somebody who's already been to your site. They know your brand. They just didn't purchase. And so this all happens on the search network. And that's the beauty of remarketing is, one, you know who your audience is because you're the one establishing that audience. And two, you're the one creating the ad, so you can talk directly to that audience when they see your ad again, in this case, on search. So that's RLSA, remarketing list for search ads. I recommend pretty much any industry, any client, any customer run remarketing list for search advertising and remarketing for display. So those are two key campaigns you should always recommend running to a client because, one, again, you're defining the audience. Two, you're the one that's talking directly to the audience because you know who the audience is. And three, if they see the ad and they click on it, again, because it's cost per click, then the chances of them converting are going to be higher because they've already been to your website. They know who you are. And so if they click on your ad again, then they must be interested. So those are all the benefits of running an RLSA campaign. Okay, so number 14, what types of audiences can be used in GDN, Google's display network? So a lot of different audiences here. Okay, so let's go through them. So you have affinity audiences. So basically, affinity audiences are basically what are people's interests and habits. What do they have an affinity for? Are there food sites, travel sites, shopping sites, fashion? Okay, so that's what affinity really relates to. Okay, then you have in-market, custom intent, life events. These are what they're researching or planning for. So again, it could be travel, it can be finance, etc. Okay, you have remarketing. We just went over that with the remarketing list for search advertising, RLSA. And so with the remarketing, it's an audience that has interacted with your website. So they either came from mobile and didn't convert, or female came from mobile and didn't convert. So you're the one defining the audience there. You also have a similar audience. So this is what Google creates on your behalf. So these are users with a similar interest to your site visitors. So Google is monitoring the type of traffic that's coming to your site, and based on that traffic, they're going to create a similar audience. And then you have a custom match. So what you know about your customer's activities, basically. So these are all the different audience types, and you can see the different types of ads available. Okay, so notice the far right column, video ads. So video ads are available to every one of these audience types. Why? Because YouTube. So Google knows what people's interests and habits are based on the videos they watch. They know what they're looking for. Okay, they know that they've been to your website because they're cookied, so you can remarket them. Okay, so video ads are a very powerful tool for any one of these audience types. So next question, what are the types of keyword matching available in Google Ads? Okay, so this is a good question. Very important. If you're going to manage a Google Ads account and a campaign, you have to be aware of the different match types. You can't just go broad match. That's a sign of somebody who doesn't know what they're doing is by bidding on a one keyword phrase. That's a short tail keyword. If you think back to SEO, we have our long tail and our short tail keywords. The worst thing you could do is bid on a keyword, short tail keyword that's broad match. Because what is broad match? Basically, broad match are keywords that appear when a user searches any word in the phrase. Now, you can define specifically what you want your ads to appear for in terms of keywords. And when I say specifically, you can use a phrase match. So phrase match are ads that appear only when a user searches for that exact keyword phrase in the precise order, but with some additional words in the beginning or at the end of the query. Okay, so usually these are sentences. So you could be, bidding on red Adidas running shoes. And somebody could type in, looking for red Adidas running shoes in Portland, Oregon, okay, as an example. Okay, so as long as red Adidas running shoes are in order in that keyword phrase, then your ad's going to appear because it's a phrase match. And then you can get really specific by doing an exact match. So exact match are keywords that are triggered only when that keyword and exactly that keyword phrase is queried. So if you do an exact match for red Adidas running shoes and somebody types in only red Adidas running shoes, then that's an exact match and your ad's going to appear. So let's take a look at these again. So you got broad match. Okay, we got a term cheap smartphone. So if somebody types in smartphone, cheap phone, smart mobile, phone cheap, any one of those combinations, your ad's going to appear. Now there's one thing you can do for broad match, and it's called broad match modifier. So you could put a plus sign in front of the keyword. For example, let's just say you really want to emphasize the word cheap. Okay, you're selling really inexpensive smartphones. Okay, not just any smartphone, but an inexpensive smartphone. So you can put a plus sign in front of cheap. And so if somebody puts in, just smartphone or smart mobile, your ad's not going to show up because the keyword query has to contain cheap. So anytime you put a plus in front of the keyword query you're bidding on, then that means that keyword has to be part of the keyword phrase. So that's a broad match modifier, if you will. And that prevents you from getting unwanted impressions. So we have phrase match, again, blue smartphone. So somebody could type in smartphone in blue color, cheap blue smartphone. Notice though, the second one where it says smartphone in blue color, your ad's not necessarily going to show up because guess what? Blue smartphone is the keyword query and the query here is not in that order. So remember, in order for you to show up for phrase match, the keyword has to be in that order. So I'm looking for a blue smartphone that is less than $100. Okay, that could be somebody's query. Blue smartphone was in that query in that order. So if somebody says looking for a smartphone that happens to be blue, less than $100, then your ad is not going to show up. So remember, it has to be in that precise order. One thing I want us to go back to on the phrase match, notice that there's quotes around the keyword. Anytime you see quotes around the keyword, that signifies it's a phrase match. Because if we look at exact match, notice there are brackets around the keyword red shoe. That signifies it's an exact match. So if you put brackets around a keyword, then you're signaling to Google that this is an exact match and I only want to show up for the keyword red shoe. Well, the only option that will work here is the second one, red shoes. Okay, so because that's an exact match. Okay, so disregard the first and the third one because shoe and red color is not going to work and footwear that's red is not going to work because this is an exact match. So you're saying I only want to show up for the keyword red shoe. And Google recognizes plurals and singulars together. So if somebody did type in red shoes, then your ad is going to show up. Okay, so moving on, what are some of the reasons as to why your ads could have been rejected? It happens to the best of us. And if you're writing ads and they get rejected, it could be for a number of reasons. So at the end of the day, you're violating Google's advertising policies. So some of the policies that could have been violated are, and just some of the many, we're just listing some here, prohibited content, prohibited practices, restricted content, or editorial and technical. So when you look at prohibited content, I will say this, you're not going to be able to sell drugs. Even if you're selling pharmaceutical products, that's considered drugs, and that's going to be prohibited. Or prohibited practices, like selling drugs online, that's illegal in the state. So you're going to definitely get flagged for that. Okay, so there are a lot of different ways in which your ads can be disapproved, okay? But if you do see restricted content, then that means you can advertise, but with limitations. And usually those limitations are restricted to, say, only Google search and not Google search partners, or to a specific geography. So usually the key here is, if somebody asks this question, okay, there are a lot of different reasons. Google's usually going to provide the specific or the reason why it got disapproved, and they're usually going to include a link that you can refer to. Okay, so at least Google does that much. They're not going to leave you in the dark and tell you your ad's just been disapproved. They're going to tell you why and include a link that you can go to figure out how you can best resolve the disapproved ad. So what are the different kinds of bidding available in Google Ads? So we already covered part of this earlier on. So remember, Google Search Network is only cost per click, CPC. When we talk about Google's display network, you have three options: cost per click, cost per view, and cost per impression. And CPM is cost per 1,000 impressions. So you're paying per 1,000 impressions. Impression is when somebody actually sees your ad. Cost per view is actually somebody looking at your ad for at least 30 seconds or the entirety of the ad. So if the video ad only runs 15 seconds and somebody watched the entirety, then you're going to pay per cost per view. So if your video is 2 minutes long and somebody watched 30 seconds, you're going to pay cost per view. Okay, so again, let's go through these. Cost per click, it just enables you to set up a maximum price on the cost of somebody clicking on your advertisement. You only pay when somebody clicks on your ad. Okay, cost per view. Again, this is the default method to set the price you'll pay for your video ads. Okay, you only pay when a viewer watches your video advertisement for at least 30 seconds. And then cost per 1,000 impressions. So this is the amount you pay each time your ad is displayed in the search network. And you pay for impressions that are generated for your ad, and you're paying for every 1,000 impressions. So the M is actually the Roman numeral for 1,000. So that's where the M part comes in. So you're paying for 1,000 impressions. So every 1,000 eyeballs, you're going to pay a price. And so cost per impression is good for brand awareness. If you're trying to generate a lot of eyeballs onto your brand, then you'd want to go with a CPM model. Okay, so question 18, what are some automatic bidding strategies? So let's define automatic bidding strategy. Automatic bidding allows Google take over. Okay, not you. Google's taking over, and they're the ones setting the bid amounts automatically. And it's going to be based on criteria. And that criteria is going to be centered around conversions. So if Google bids on your behalf automatically, basically what they're doing is they're collecting data on the behavior of your ads. And so if your ad is likely to get the click or conversion, then Google is going to set the bid amount so you can win that auction in order to get the click or the conversion. So there are different types of bidding strategies. But remember, you have to align a bidding strategy with the strategy of the campaign. So for example, if your goal of the campaign is to increase site visitors, you just want people to click on your ad and go to your website, then you're going to have an automated bidding strategy of maximize clicks. That aligns with your campaign strategy. So this strategy automatically sets your bids to help to get as many clicks as possible within your budget. So Google is going to do its best based on historical performance of the campaign to generate traffic to your site. That's the goal. That's the bid strategy. Okay, let's take a look at some others. So, hey, the goal of our strategy campaign is to increase visibility. So that's an easy one. Remember, cost per impressions. Hey, we want to maximize how many people look at our ads. Okay, so target impression share. So this bidding strategy allows your bids to show at the top of the page. Okay, so you're getting the impression, so people are able to look at your ad. Okay, so you're telling Google, hey, I want to be shown at least 50% of the time when somebody types in a keyword that I'm bidding on. So they're going to make sure that they meet your target impression share 50%. So they're going to set your bids automatically to make sure your ad shows at the top of the page so it's seen at least 50% of the time. That's the goal of the campaign, and that's the bidding strategy goal. we set up a campaign to drive conversions. So there are a couple of bidding strategies against conversions. So target CPA. So this strategy sets a search or display bid to get as many conversions as possible, but there's a caveat here. Cost per acquisition is what CPA stands for. So we're trying to get as many conversions as possible, but at a certain cost. For example, if I'm selling t-shirts for $10, do I want to pay $20 CPA for every sale? Do I want to pay Google $20? No. I'd be losing money. I'd be out of business. Okay, so if I'm selling t-shirts for $10 on my website, I'm probably going to put the CPA about $2 or $3 again, depending on my cost of goods. So if I factor in my cost of goods, I'm trying to make a profit, then I'm going to tell Google, look, I'm trying to get some sales, but I don't want to lose money getting the sales. So you're going to put in a threshold, and that threshold is your target CPA. And so Google's going to automatically bid and win the auction for keywords when they feel those keywords can get you a target CPA that you put in. For example, $2. Okay, so the goal of our campaign is to meet a target return on ad spend, meaning return on advertising spend, meaning we're getting more revenue than we're spending. That ratio needs to be positive. So Google's going to help us, again, adjust our bids to make sure that our return on advertising spend meets our criteria. So we could put a ROAS as 100%, 200%, etc. And Google's going to adjust our bids accordingly based on the keyword that they think will meet that criteria of 100% or 200%. So that's target return on advertising spend. And that's there to see if Google can help you generate a profit. So we have another campaign set up. We're trying to get more conversions. We have a budget. We want to spend the budget, but we want to get conversions. So this is a gimme. The bidding strategy here would be maximize conversions. So this strategy sets bids like all the others. It automatically is going to adjust your bid. That is Google. It's going to adjust the bid to help you win the auction based on historical performance. So if a keyword historically has performed in terms of conversions, you better believe Google's going to try and win the auction on your behalf to get the click, to get that conversion. And that's maximize conversions. Okay, moving on, question 19. And this is probably the most important question that you're going to get. If an interview asks you this question, this is what Google Ads is all about, quality score. So what is quality score? So simply put, quality score is a score between 1 and 10, given to every keyword you've been on. And basically between 1 and 10, it's Google's giving you the score, the quality score of that keyword. And so how does Google come up with that score between 1 and 10? Well, there's 3 main factors here. One is expected click-through rate, the second is ad relevance, and the third is landing page experience. So obviously a higher quality score, the better off you are. Okay, a low quality score, it's not going to bode well for you. And so if you have a low quality score, Google actually will tell you which of these 3 components you're not scoring very well on. So you're either going to get a below average, average, or above average for each of these 3 components that make up quality score. And I will tell you this, if I were to divide them up into thirds, click-through rate, expected click-through rate is more important than the other 2. So that's about 2/3 of quality score. An expected click-through rate is basically Google saying, look, other advertisers have bid on this keyword and their click-through rate has been historically around, say, for example, 3%. So if you can't get 3%, then your quality score is going to suffer. Ad relevance is simply, does the ad or is the ad relevant to the keyword you're bidding on? Likewise for the landing page. But the landing page experience is a little bit more subjective because the landing page has to load well, fast, no pop-ups, a lot of external links, nothing spammy, no ads being served up. So a lot of factors in landing page experience. Google wants to make sure if somebody clicks on your ad that they're going to have a good experience when they land on that page. And so quality score is so key here. It is very key because if you don't have a good quality score, the repercussion means you're going to have to bid higher because quality score times bid equals ad rank. So for every auction, whoever has the highest ad rank is going to be at the top of Google search results. So if you have a low quality score, let's just say 1, and you're bidding $4 on that keyword, then your ad rank is 4. 1 times 4 is 4. So you got to keep that in mind because other advertisers could have a higher ad rank or better quality scores for that keyword. So again, expected click-through rate. This just shows how likely it is that your ads will get clicked when shown for a particular keyword. Google expects a certain number here. You should always try to achieve the highest click-through rate possible. And click-through rate is simply how many times your ad was seen versus how many times it was clicked. That's all click-through rate is. Clicks divided by impressions. So you should always try to achieve the highest click-through rate possible. That will avoid getting a low quality score. Ad relevance. So ad relevance simply means how relevant is your keyword to the ad. Okay, so if you're bidding on red Adidas running shoes, then make sure your ad discusses and mentions multiple times, naturally, red Adidas running shoes. Okay, and remember, with those text ads, you have 3 headlines. You have 2 description lines of up to 90 characters. You have site extensions. Okay, you have path 1 and path 2. That meaning you can add additional keywords to the end of a URL. So you have lots of opportunities to make sure the ad is relevant to the keyword. And then landing page experience. Again, this is a little subjective, but hey, Google's going to use landing page experience to estimate how relevant and useful your website's landing page will be to people who not only click on your web, but land on that page. So does that page load fast? Does it have any unnecessary pop-ups? Does it have some quirky external links that look spammy? Okay, you got to take all these things into consideration and think about the end user here. And then last question for search engine marketing. So what are the hallmarks of a good PPC landing page? So going back to landing page experience, this is a good segue. So you always want to make sure you have an attractive and powerful headline on the page. Remember, it's got to be a nice flow. You're bidding on a keyword. Somebody types in the keyword. They see your attractive ad. They click on that attractive ad, which has the keyword in it. They click on the ad, they go to the landing page. They want to be able to see something very similar to what they typed in, the ad they saw. They want to be able to see it seamlessly on the landing page. And so that attractive and powerful headline should include that keyword. Should also have persuasive copy that can convince prospects to convert. To me, bullet points always work here. Simple bullet points, easy to read, easy to understand, easy to just convey the positives about what you're trying to sell or convert. Have engaging media, like videos. Videos always help because they're interactive. It keeps people engaged longer. Or have some really good images. Don't just go stock photography. Complement the video with some images. And then your landing pages should have enough white space to draw attention to specific elements on the page, and meaning don't cram the page together, because remember, users are also coming to these pages via mobile. So you got to take that in consideration as well. So cramming your pages full of content, videos, and images is probably not going to bode well. So make sure there's breathing room for people to read, understand, and react. And those are hallmarks of a good PPC landing page. Some other factors here. Adding trust indicators like some statistical evidence, meaning how many people downloaded your app. You can always have testimonials, third-party sales of approval like Better Business Bureau, privacy policy links help. Okay, so you want to add some things in there that's going to, give you credibility. Okay. Having a properly designed lead capture form to collect visitors' information is always helpful. If you're trying to get that conversion, then have a lead form. Make it simple. Don't have a lead form with 20 forms or fields. Have a simple name, email address, make the phone number optional, and have one field that they can type in specific information. And then last but certainly not least, have a good call to action. So make sure that call to action aligns with what you're trying to do. Again, you're selling those red Adidas running shoes. If they're on sale, then make sure the call to action aligns with that sale. You can always say, 20% off for the next 2 days, or $10 off if you purchase today. So have some good, strong call to action. Okay, let's turn our attention to email marketing. So email marketing is traditional digital marketing channel. It's been around a while, and you're going to be asked some questions that are going to encompass a lot of things related to the delivery of emails. We all check emails on a daily basis. We all receive them. Sometimes we receive emails unsolicited. Sometimes we sign up to receive emails. Sometimes we receive emails from friends. Sometimes we receive emails where we're working or previously have worked. So most people have an understanding of email. However, as a marketer, there's a little bit of a different twist to it. So we have to understand the intricacies of how email marketing works. So you're going to be asked some questions, and really the first question here is, what's the difference between a hard and a soft bounce email? So if you're a digital marketer, you're in charge of sending out lots of emails, let's just say thousands, or it could be in the hundreds of thousands of emails, you're going to get some bounces. And so you really want to know the difference between a hard and a soft bounce. So a soft bounce just means that the email message reached the recipient's mail server but bounced back as undelivered. So think of it as delivering actual mail to a post office. So it actually reached the post office, but it bounced back because maybe the person's email box was full, maybe their account was temporarily disabled, or maybe the email server wasn't necessarily able to handle that email. Now, a hard bounce is an email that is rejected because it's an email when it happens when the email has been permanently rejected. So, for example, maybe the account is no longer valid. And so let's look at some reasons again as to why a soft bounce would happen. So, for example, the inbox is full or the recipient server's down. So it reached the post office, but there was a problem actually getting it into the hands of the owner, so to speak. Where the hard bounce, a little bit different. Let's just say that person is no longer working, their email's been deleted, or the email has been blacklisted somehow. Okay, as spam or something to that effect. So the email server is going to identify that, and it's not even going to reach the recipient. So a lot of different ways in which an email may not make its recipient. So not the most important thing to know here. The important thing to know is, listen, when you send out an email, you got to pay attention to how many get bounced back. And so next question here, what would you do to improve the click-through rate of your email? So click-through rate is simply how many people have seen your email and how many people actually clicked on a link in the email. So if 100 people saw your email but only one person clicked, then it would be a 1% click-through rate. So we want to be able to make sure we have a high click-through rate. So remember, emails are going to people who likely signed up to receive your email. And even if they are expecting the email or they're not expecting the email, you still want to follow some of these best practices here. One is to create a compelling subject line. So you want to make the subject line something that people are going to notice, take note of, or take an interest in, and say, hey, what's this all about? That's pretty interesting, and open the email. So use preview text effectively. Obviously, you want to make your email mobile friendly because most people look at their emails on their mobile phones. You want to create engaging content. Okay, so the content that's in the email obviously is going to have some links. So put some strong call to action in there, and that's one of the bullet points down below. Place a CTA where it's easily visible. So keep in mind mobile users. Most people are going to check that email on their phone, so you want to make sure you have compelling content with good CTAs in a visible location. So always check mobile as well as desktop. Obviously, in your emails, you want to make them as visual as possible. Don't make them so text heavy. You can always segment your emails, meaning if you're sending out an email, let's just say to 100 people, okay, maybe you want to divide it up, boys or girls, maybe old or young, maybe, living in one part of the country versus another part of the country. I mean, those are examples of segments. So break up the email. Don't send it to one mass email to everyone. That way you can personalize the email. If an email is personalized, the chances of somebody clicking on it are going to be greater. And then A/B test your emails. And when we say A/B test, you could send out the same email twice, except one segment's going to say get one version of the email, the other segment is going to get another version of the email. And what are the different versions? Maybe the subject line. So the subject line is different on version A versus version B. Or maybe the call to action is different. So you always want to send out different versions of the same email to a different segmented audience. That way you can actually see which segment or which version got the most clicks. Okay, so next question here is how to inform your customers about company news and establish a relationship with your target audience. Okay, so again, how do you inform your customers about what's going on in the company and how are you going to establish a relationship with that audience who's receiving that email? Well, newsletters are always the best answer here. So somebody signs up for your email, let's just say they actually purchase a product from you. Newsletters are a great way to reach out to that audience to get them to stay up to date with the latest product or an improved version of the product they purchased. And then that way they can come back and continue to purchase the product. So newsletters are a great way to reach out to your audience and actually talk to your audience. You're not talking to them verbally, you're talking to them via email. So you send out that email campaign, maybe it's once a month. Hey, we noticed you bought this product. We have similar products just like the one you bought. Or hey, if it's a software, maybe, hey, we've got upcoming updates to our software. Make sure you go to the website and get the updates. Or we have a new and improved version. So all these things you want to communicate to your audience via email. That's going to get them to get to the website, and that's going to get them to, purchase more, update, upgrade, whatever. So newsletters, the way to go. So again, some basic tips here. You want to create your newsletter with 90% educational and 10% promotional. So remember, you're sending out a newsletter to people who likely signed up. So you're educating them about your products. Always create interesting subject lines. You want, whether they know you or not, you want to create the subject line so somebody's going to click on it. So make sure you design your emails appropriately, okay? So if you know you're sending, let's just say baby products to mothers or expected mothers. In fact, this is a real life example because I used to work at Gap, and Baby Gap was, one of the emails groups I was responsible for. So we created an email template with softer colors. Your yellows, your light blues. It wasn't black or dark red or anything that's going to be, heavy. We knew who our audience was and we designed the template accordingly. And of course, using compelling images. So for selling baby products, you're going to put baby product images in there. I mean, it's common sense, but you'd be surprised. You got to pick and choose your images carefully, especially if you're sending to an international audience, because images can be misconstrued. And just like we mentioned with the click-through rate, you always want to have a clear CTA. Always make sure you have a CTA in a visible position, because most people are going to look at that email in a mobile phone. Okay, and then always make sure you include your contact information in the newsletter. So somebody knows where to find you, how to contact you, where to go. Maybe they have a product they want to return. Okay, so you always want to put that contact information. Normally it's at the bottom of the email, but these are all best practices. So here's some examples. Okay, we got, check out the latest cosmetics from our new collections. Notice the image and notice the call to action. So you can see trendy collections. We got some other products you may want to buy. Okay, 5 important skincare products that everyone should have. View more. So you always want to have that call to action in a very visible place. So define following metrics: open rate, click-through rate, and response rate, and forward rate. So these are metrics related to email marketing. So you're going to have to know what these are. So I already mentioned click-through rate before when we talked about best practices for improving the click-through rate. So for those of you that remember what that is, go ahead and put that in the comment section below. It's just a little pop quiz for you if anybody remembers click-through rate. But let's take a look at open rate. So open rate is the percentage of the total number of recipients who actually open the email. So if you send it to X amount of people, how many people opened it? That would be the open rate. So how many people open it, but you're gonna take out the people who bounced it. Whether it's a soft bounce or hard bounce, okay, you're not gonna count those people. So if you had, let's just say 20 people open the email and you sent it to 100 people, and you had nobody bounce, then it would be a 20% open rate. Okay, click-through rate, again, pop quiz. It's just how many people actually clicked on any of the links in your email, and that's just divided by the number of emails you've sent out. Okay, response rate. Okay, so response rate is the percentage of the total recipients who clicked on the link of your email campaign and actually completed an action. So what is that action? Well, it could be downloading something, watching something, purchasing something. So that's the response rate, similar to conversion rate. If you're working in a digital marketing channel and you're driving traffic to the site, you want that traffic to do something. Well, it's no different in email marketing. We want people to take action. We're just going to divide that by the number of emails delivered, and that gives you your response rate. So let's just say you did send in 100 emails. You did get 20% open it, and of those 20, let's just say one person went on to purchase. Well, you'd have a 1% response rate. And then a forward rate, simply the forward rate refers to the rate at which your subscribers share your email with others, friends, family, etc. And you may have that as a call to action in your email. In fact, that's a best practice. So it's just the number of clicks on a share divided by the total number of delivered emails. And you're going to multiply that by 100 to get the percentage. And so most email marketing platforms do measure forward rate. Okay, let's take a look at question 25 here. How to recapture inactive customers. What you want to do here is re-engage subscribers with gamification. Opt for subject lines like, "We have been missing you," or "Did we do something wrong?" You want to run a poll or a competition to re-engage with your subscribers. Again, trying to get people involved. These first three are all about getting people involved. So personalize your emails. Talk to that person as if, "Hey, look, I haven't heard from you in a while. How about coming back and taking a look at our new products?" Just as you would a friend. So design always matters, especially knowing that you're talking to customers who haven't been active. Okay, this is a segmented audience, somebody who's inactive. So you want to have the right design, the right message, the right subject line that fits with that customer's inactivity. So you want to try and do everything you can to get that customer back. And then you want to follow a consistent schedule. Okay, so ideally, when you schedule an email, you want to schedule the best time. So you have to know your audience, obviously. And then you can always ask for feedback. Why are they inactive? Why haven't they purchased in a while? So the whole idea here, from gamification, like trying to, make a game out of it, so make it competitive, to adding polls, to really personalizing it, these are all things that you can do to get your customers back. So 26, so what are the different ways to segment buyer personas? So again, when we talk about segmentation, we're talking about taking a smaller piece of the entire pie. So what's one way to break up that pie, if you will? By geography. Okay, so with geography, you could target your audience based on that area. And it could not necessarily have to be by a part of the country. It could be all the way down to the province, the state, the actual city, the county. Okay, if you live in a small village, okay, all the way up to the continent. Okay, so think about how you would break out the segment by geography. Now, obviously, if you break it out, let's just say the United States to the southern part, well, the southern part, in the winter in the United States, the southern part is not going to be as cold as, say, the northern part. So that should tell you, hey, if we're going to send out an email in the winter, we're not going to use snow and blizzards as our theme. We're going to use probably a little bit of sun. So breaking it out by geography helps you understand where your audience lives. You also have demographic segmentation, and this is simply just age, education, income, gender, where people work, okay, nationality, anything that's going to identify that user. So this is the best way to segment. If you know who your audience is by income or gender, you're talking to a group of like-minded people. If they're all the same age, from the same generation, then you could talk to them appropriately. Okay? You're not going to talk to an older person the same way you would a younger person. So think about demographic segmentation, because it really helps you hone in on your messaging. And you have behavioral segmentation. So behavioral is based on your audience's behavior. Have they purchased before? Have they never purchased? Were they searching for something? How long did they stay on the site? What products were they looking at? Are they a lifetime customer? So you can look at behavior and decide how you want to break out your emails by behavior. And this is a really good way. If you're not even sure who your audience is or where they live and how old they are, you could certainly break out your audience by behavior, because you know who these people are based on what they've done previously, because you're going to track that information with analytics. So, one way is obviously if somebody's purchased. That's a good way to segment, because these people believe in you, believe in your business, believe in your product. So the way you can message to somebody who's purchased before is going to be different than somebody you don't even know who they are, if they purchased or not. Okay, so behavioral segmentation to me is one of the easiest things, the easiest ways to segment your email list. 27, how would you drive repeat customers through email marketing for the below scenario? Okay, so this is a pop quiz, if you will. Again, for those of you that got click-through rate correctly, kudos. Let's see if you can go 2 for 2 here. Okay, so if you know the answer to this, go ahead and comment below. But let's just say give a few examples of subject lines to drive engagement for audiences based on the following. So if I had an audience between 20 and 30 years old that were female, and the product were sandals. Okay, what would some of your subject lines be? So I'm going to give you a minute to think about that and put it in the comment section below. Now remember, this is an interview-based question, so you're going to have to think on the spot. I'm going to give you a minute, but if somebody presented that to you in an interview, you need to be able to, react fairly quickly and come up with some really attractive subject lines here. Okay, so here you go. Here's another one. So give a few examples of subject lines to drive engagement for 20 to 30 females for footwear. So you got Friday sale coming up. Buy branded sandals at the lowest price. Okay, so I like this one because it's got a strong call to action. Buy. Here you go. This is even better because 50% off on branded sandals and free shipping. I mean, who can't beat free anything, including shipping? And if it's 50% off, I mean, these are key things. So you're putting the promotion and the percentage off all in the subject line. So that's really going to grab somebody's attention. Weekend sale for women starts now. Okay, with a little emoji. That never hurts. So those are all good subject lines. They all tend to work because they all have an element of a best practice in there. So here you got, the Friday sale coming up is just giving people notice. Okay, the stronger call to action on the buy, you're putting the promotion in the subject line, and you're using an emoji to really just drive home the point. So all these subject lines will work. And hey, at the end of the day, remember, you want to test your subject lines. Okay, moving on to the next question. Speaking of testing, what is A/B testing, and give some examples of A/B testing? Okay, so we talked a little bit about A/B testing with subject lines. So simply, A/B testing when it comes to email marketing is just a method to analyze which of the two email campaign strategies is most effective. Okay, now you're going to do it based on open rate, you can do it based on click rate, you can do it based on response rate. Okay, remember, you're putting one version of the email against another version, whether that be the subject line, whether it be the content, call to action, whatever. So that's ideally what you're trying to do. You're trying to figure out what works for your audience. That's the end goal for A/B testing and email marketing. What's going to work? And I would highly suggest you should always do A/B testing for subject lines. Always. So some of the variables that you can test, again, subject lines. Okay, you always want to try, if you got a promotion, hey, will the percentage off work? Likely it will, but let's test it up against something else, like, a generic word like discounts. You can always test the design. You can always test the personalization, the preview text. You can try out images, call to actions, exclusive offers. What particular offer is going to work? Okay, so if you're testing offers, then obviously that's going to be response rate. If you're testing CTAs, then that's going to be click-through rate. If you're testing subject lines, that's going to be open rate. So you want to be able to test different elements of the email to figure out what works and what doesn't work. Okay, so how to prevent email from getting into spam. So if you're an email marketer, this is your worst nightmare. You don't want your emails to get spammed. So that doesn't bode well for you. So most email marketing platforms like MailChimp or Constant Contact measure spam. So some of the important ways to prevent this is, hey, improve your open rate. Remember, going back to the second question, you want to have really good subject lines here. Okay, and you want to segment your audience. So if you know who you're talking to and you have a cool subject line that's going to get somebody to react and open, then that's going to prevent somebody from spamming your email. Okay, you can always customize your from to make it look like it's coming from, in this case, Rob Sanders. Check if you have included an unsubscribe link. Okay, so give people the option to unsubscribe. If they don't have the option to unsubscribe, they could just report you as spam. Make sure your emails work on different devices. Okay, you want to optimize your images for email. Make sure they're not big and they don't fit on a mobile device. Okay, prefer more text and fewer images. And then avoid grammatical issues. You want to come across as professional. You don't want somebody looking at your email like, who sent this? Why are you sending this to me? I don't want to hear from you again. I'm going to spam you. You want to prevent that. And that means a professional looking email, professional content with a really good subject line and some imagery to go along with that. Hey, you may just get somebody to open that email and get them to convert. That's the idea behind it. So these are ways to prevent somebody from actually spamming you. And then what are the best practices for email subject lines? So the subject line is probably the most important element in email marketing. So we talked about that little pop quiz with the sandals targeting 20 to 30-year-old women. To me, I like the subject line with the 50% off. So that was a number in the subject line. So people can actually see, hey, wow, I get a whole 50%. That works better than just a discount. Okay, remember, one of those other subject lines had an emoji. So don't be afraid to include emojis in there. For example, when I send out emails using, during the spring, you might want to use flowers, perhaps, to signify, hey, it's spring, winter's over. So personalize the subject lines. Remember, that goes with segmenting. So if you know who your audience is, your subject lines can be a little bit more personal. Okay, so opt for title case subject lines. Okay, so instead of making it grammatical, for example, okay, you want to keep your subject lines short and to the point. Remember, you want to say something that's going to draw somebody's attention. If you make it long and drawn out and boring, then people aren't going to open it. Develop a sense of urgency like, hey, we got 50% off through Friday. So that's a little sense of urgency so people know, hey, if it's Thursday, I better open this email and check it out. And again, grammatical mistakes, that goes without saying. You always want to preview your emails before you send them out. So if you preview your emails before you send them out, have somebody else obviously receive the preview. They can be another set of eyes for you to prevent any mistakes, but also give you feedback on the imagery, the design, etc. Okay, so these are all best practices for good subject lines. Okay, so subject line is the most important element for email marketing. So just keep these in mind. Subject lines and having good subject lines is the way to get people to open it. And from there, that's half the battle. If somebody can open the email, then you've just set yourself up for better performance. Okay, let's turn our attention from email marketing to social media marketing. One of the interesting channels, hot trend channel. A lot of people want to get into social media marketing. A lot of jobs available, but you have to know what you're doing. So let's get into it. And here's some questions you might be asked in an interview related to social media marketing. Social media marketing is very interactive. A lot of people posting information, whether it be a tweet, a post, sharing, liking, engaging, commenting. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in social media. So some of it is going to probably be good. Most of it's probably going to be good, but every once in a while, you're going to get a negative comment. So you're probably going to be asked this question: how do you respond to negative comments? Well, very simple. You got to be quick to acknowledge. Okay, don't sit on it. Don't waste time, hem and haw on how you're going to respond. You really have to acknowledge the comment and start the process of constructive engagement to turn the negative experience into a positive one. So let me just expand on that for just a second. We know you like your brand. We know you like your product. We know you're very proud. We get that. I'm proud. I like to defend sometimes my beliefs. However, you got to put that aside when it comes to social media. Why? Because everybody is watching you and everybody can read what you write. So the spotlight is on you, not necessarily the consumer, the customer who wrote the negative comment. So you really have to be cognizant here and conscientious of what you post in response. So be quick, but be constructive, because you want to turn that negative into a positive. That's really what it's starting with. So how do you do that? Well, how do you be constructive? Well, see it from the customer's point of view. Take off your ownership hat, if you will, your manager hat, and put on the customer's hat. Always look at something from somebody else's perspective. Try to understand why that person wrote that negative comment, and ask yourself how you can make it right. So if you're the customer, and you are, You're a customer when you go to the store and buy food. You're the customer when you go to the store and buy clothes. When you buy a car, you're the customer. So ask yourself what you can do to make it right while you're thinking in the customer's perspective or looking through their eyes, if you will. To me, it's not an easy thing to do, but it's something you have to do. Okay, so always look at it from a customer's point of view and then take it out of the spotlight. So really, because everybody's looking at you, waiting to see how you respond. And remember, this customer that wrote the negative comment can certainly share your comments to the world. So you got to be really, really careful. I mean, how many times have we seen on YouTube, poor customer experience going viral on via video? So you just got to really be careful here. So take it out of the spotlight. So offer to resolve the customer's problems in an appropriate forum. Offer up your phone number and email. Give them a link to a feedback form. Or get their email or phone number and call them. These are the best ways to really spin this into a more positive experience for the customer. I mean, at the end of the day, it could become something really small and silly, but don't make a mountain out of a molehill. If it is something small and silly, how you respond could make it into more than what it really is. So be quick, be constructive, look at it from the customer's point of view, and offer as much support as you possibly can. Okay, that's how you want to respond if somebody asks that question in an interview. Some other comments here. So keep track. Although the issue might be solved, it doesn't necessarily mean the commenter has gone away. So follow up with them. If you resolved it, follow up with them a month later. Hey, surprise them. 2 months later, give them a discount. Okay, you'd be surprised. Positivity goes a long way. And it's always nice when somebody actually follows up with you after the fact, just to make sure they want to know that you're taken care of. And then don't feed the social media trolls. Okay, so ignoring trolls across social media will make sure they don't enjoy the notoriety it brings. So don't even allow the negativity to feed itself. So that's why you really have to stay quick, constructive, look at it from a customer's point of view and just turn this whole experience into a positive experience. It's an opportunity for you to hone your skills. Okay, let's move on to another question. So somebody may ask you to give an example of a successful social media campaign. Okay, so if you're going in to interview for a social media manager job, you probably want to do your homework in advance. Look at what other people have done. So here's a good example, Spotify. You can see the Spotify ad here with Ed Sheeran. Spotify mined the search and playlist data of its user base to develop a thematic branded ad experience on billboards in 18 markets around the world. First of all, let's just take this and break it down. Ed Sheeran's popular. You can see here, be as loving as the person who put 48 Ed Sheeran songs on their I Love Gingers playlist. So messaging is everything. Okay, and then you could see what Spotify did. They mined the search and playlist data of its user base. Okay, so they try to understand their audience. Going back to email, you got to understand your audience. Okay, then they use that to develop a branded experience on different markets around the world. So they took an audience and they really marketed this around the world. Okay, to something that was really hot and trendy. I'd love to see how this thing actually performed. My guess is it did perform fairly well because when you're Spotify, you're going to pick something hot and trendy to get people to react. And so to me, this seems like, just on the surface, a very successful social media campaign. Here's some other things. You can see these ads were featured on the sides of buildings, subway platforms, along busy streets. So it wasn't just digital per se. I mean, they really went full bore on the billboards. And those billboards were everywhere, on the sides of buildings. Again, in 18 different markets. So you can see it wasn't just necessarily Ed Sheeran per se, but, they had some good messaging. Enjoy green light at every red light. That's pretty cool, I guess, if you're stuck in traffic in the middle of a city. Less fake news, more fake magic. So they really took and honed in the type of music, put some good messaging behind it, and really put it out there. So it doesn't always necessarily have to, necessarily be digital per se. But what they did was they did post this on the sides of buildings and subway platforms and throughout different city streets for maximum visibility for their fans to upload to their social media. Okay, so do your homework. Okay, and on this next question, you certainly want to do your homework. So if you're a social media manager, you're probably going to be involved in some Facebook advertising. Okay, so this is a basic straight up question. What are some of the different types of ads you can run on Facebook? You know you can do single image ads. Most of us have probably seen that. You can do multi-product, lead ads, slideshows, collection ads, video ads. I mean, you got all sorts of a variety of different ad formats here. Okay, so let's take a look at these ad formats. Single image, again, most of us have seen it. Okay, it's just simply a single image that, allows you to put some text at the top, a link at the bottom, or a link to your website or your Facebook page, and a strong call to action. Okay, so Facebook has that built into their ad platform. Okay, so the ad images need to be 1200 by 628 pixels. That's a pretty nice size image. Multi-product ads. So multi-product ads are represented in carousel form. So basically it allows you, the end user, to view the range of products just by scrolling. And notice each one of these products has a call to action. So here you can see Simplilearn offering up all the different courses they have to offer. So if you have a customer that has multiple products, this is probably the way you want to go. So video ads are very popular on Facebook. So video ads usually range from a few seconds all the way up to 120 minutes. And again, video is very engaging. If you have video, use the video, okay? Because they receive about 10 to 30% more views than other forms of ads, okay? Who doesn't like engaging with video? Pretty simple. You have lead ads. So lead ads allow you to obtain user details like name, phone number, email, right in Facebook's environment. So it allows you to collect information right then and there. So lead ads can be effective if you're trying to get people to sign up for something. Slideshow. So we looked at those multi-product ads where you had the carousel. Slideshow simply just allows you to rotate different creative with nice imagery. So the key here is nice imagery. Okay, you want to put your best foot forward, choose the right imagery, just like going back to the email marketing, going back to pay-per-click. You want to use some effective ads here and images in the ads. Okay, you also have collection ads. That's another option on Facebook. So collection ads combine video, slideshow, or product images taken from your product catalog. So I would recommend this for users who want to advertise several of their products at once. Okay, again, Simplilearn has a lot of different courses, thousands of courses. So, collection ads works for them. You can see here, you got social media certification, you got PPC certification, SEO certification. Okay, these are all different certification courses you could take at Simplilearn. And they want to go ahead and promote all those courses together. So lo and behold, collection ads offers the best option here. So pay attention to those different ad formats on Facebook. Okay, next question. How can you use the holiday season for social media marketing? Well, this is a nice segue from the previous question because you have on Facebook all these different ad types. So you can change your ad placements to ones lesser used by other advertisements. You can also set up clear, simple, and compelling offers for your users. It's the holiday season, you're likely going to have some sales. And again, make sure your images have under 20% of text. Okay, that's a standard across the board. But again, you want to have nice imagery. So think about all those different ad formats on Facebook. Think about the holiday season and how you can accentuate your ads here. Okay, I'm thinking video here. I'm thinking a promotion in the video. I'm thinking a collection ad where you can run different products, maybe with a promotion with some nice imagery during the holiday season. So you definitely have a plethora of options, not just on Facebook, but across social media for the holidays, because normally you're going to have promotions. Some other things you can do to really maximize the holiday season for social media, and that's make advertisements emotionally resonate with your audience. The holiday season is a time really where you reflect on the year, you get together with friends and family, and it's religious and, it's a feel good. In some parts of the world, the weather changes. So you want to resonate on that. Okay, you want to resonate on that emotion. Okay, you always, holiday season or not, you want to monitor reports to scale successful ad campaigns. And obviously the ones that aren't performing, you want to pause. Okay, so with the holiday season, you're likely going to have an uptick in traffic, an uptick in eyeballs. So pay attention. You don't want to spend money for money's sake. So on Facebook, it's a cost per click model. So you don't want to be generating clicks without seeing any results. So go ahead and pay attention, maximize those ads that are performing and get rid of the ones that aren't. Okay, and then connect the holiday with your products or services. So again, think about which ones you're going to accentuate, which ones you're going to make more prominent during the holiday season. And again, thinking back to the Facebook ad types, I'm thinking carousel or collection ads. If you can really pump up some of your products and have a nice promotion with them, you can run some nice collection ads on Facebook. Okay, moving on to the next question. So somebody may ask you, hey, how do you make content go viral? Okay, I always wondered that myself. How does content go viral? It's a great question. So really, you're not necessarily in control, but you can certainly do some things to make it more appealing for the end user to go ahead and share it. I mean, that's what going viral is, right? A lot of people sharing it, because the more people that share, the more people are going to look and find it just as enticing, and they're going to turn around and share it. So how do you start that process, really, is what it comes down to. Well, create short form content. Short form content is more likely to go viral. In other words, a 10-minute video is probably not going to resonate with somebody. Something cute, funny, interesting, unique, out of this world in 15, 30 seconds is probably going to go viral. So what does that mean? Make the visual content like images and video. It works better than bodies of text. So make sure those images and video are really compelling. And then run giveaways to draw attention and generate brand awareness and engagement. So you can always incentivize your users with a giveaway or some type of promotion. That's going to maybe pique somebody's interest. Share it with 100 friends and get 10% off, as an example. So these are some of the things you can do to make it go viral. Of course, if you're trying to get something to go viral, you definitely want to monitor behavior and then tweak once you figure out how it's performing. Okay, you may have chosen the wrong images. You may have the wrong promotion. You may find that the content's a little bit longer than you probably like, and you may want to cut it down. Some other things you could do here is use some trending hashtags and topics on your post. So ride that wave, if you will. For any surfers in the audience, hey, two people can ride the same wave. So if you got a trending hashtag, use that hashtag with that video or post. And you can always ask users to interact. Okay, so you can always ask them to like or share, especially if they're your audience. Because when somebody actually shares it, that means they're sharing it with somebody else who also has an audience. So that's a quick way to get the ball going, so to speak, the ball bouncing. Okay, so next question. Which industries perform better with different platforms? Great question. There's a lot of different social media platforms. You got your most popular ones all the way down to your least popular ones. I mean, let's face it, social media platforms are also geographic. So some social media platforms are more popular in, say, the United States than, say, India or Russia, and vice versa. We know China has a lot of different social media platforms that most Americans in the United States don't even use. So you got to keep that in mind, but we're not talking about geography, we're talking about industry. So you got to also think about industry here. So generally with Facebook, it's usually food and beverage, news and media, e-commerce. Those are the types of industries that you might tend to see on Facebook. When we talk about e-commerce, it could be clothing, it could be restaurant. Okay, selling, or it could be a food company selling, foods and beverages. You also have Instagram. So Instagram tends to be more beauty, food and beverage, e-commerce. So when we talk about beauty, we're talking about clothes, we're talking about makeup, maybe shoes, dresses, unique styles. I see a lot of that on Instagram. And then LinkedIn, for example, generally works with, for me, I look at LinkedIn as B2B. Okay, so anything, interesting in a specific industry, you're probably going to see some news items and updates on that. Tips and best practices, and of course, jobs. A lot of recruiters on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's a good place for you to really put yourself out there to find that job you seek, that social media manager job. Okay, so here's a breakdown, if you will, of the top 5. Again, in the United States, for those users who are watching this from another country, you may find, I'll be interested if you could get some feedback here, in the comment section of the video. Go ahead and put the social media platform you use in your country. And generally, what do you see on that platform? Do you see food and beverage? Do you see gaming or entertainment? Do you see e-commerce? So share your thoughts and knowledge with the rest of us. So next question, how would you measure social media marketing success of an organization? And this is a likely question, a question you're likely going to get, okay? How do you measure success? And that's across the board, not just social, but PPC, email marketing, display, affiliate. So really, you're always going to have the right answer if you talk and think about conversion. So with conversions, about tracking content downloads or sales or registrations or lead gen or form submissions, anything where you're going to get something in return. Okay, so to me, that's the general answer here. How do we measure success? Well, it always depends on strategy. But if you're trying to get a sale from Instagram based on your beauty product, or you got a promotion you're running on Facebook and you're running a lead form type ad, okay, are you getting people to enter in details on the form submission? So you always want to track conversions from that perspective. Okay, you also have engagement. Okay, so your strategy may not be conversion. Maybe your strategy is simply brand awareness and engagement. You want to know how many people participate in the conversation, for example. You may post something that's really, hot trend. It's trending, it's political, it could be business, it could be a world affair. You want to be able to measure how many people react. How many people comment, reply, repost, retweet, share, like, etc. So engagement metrics vary across different social media platforms, but basically, when it comes to engagement, you can measure it. It just has to align with the right strategy. You also have awareness. Again, if you're just simply in it for brand awareness, okay, it's all about how many people are actually looking at it, the total volume of people, okay, and how widely your message is spreading. Okay, what's the reach? It could also be just simply traffic to your website. So you can certainly track traffic to your websites by clicks or shares. So it doesn't always have to be about conversion or engagement. It can simply, hey, we want to drive traffic to the website. So 37, what are some things to focus on when advertising on Twitter? Okay, you can advertise on Twitter. Whether you knew that or not, now you know Twitter is a platform where you can pay for advertising. So what do you want to focus on when you do advertise on Twitter? Well, you want to emphasize urgency to make sure users take immediate action. You want to express discounts and percentages. Why? Well, because you're limited in what you can say on Twitter. You want to avoid using hashtags that don't pertain to your brand and product. I know that may sound like common sense, but remember, you're advertising in here. So you got to be really, really, really careful because you're paying. You're paying for somebody to either look at that ad or click on that ad. So some other things you want to keep focus on is your ad copy. It's got to be short and to the point. And then make sure your ads are mobile friendly. Again, just like most social media platforms, Twitter's no different. People are looking at Twitter on their mobile phones. So video ads should have subtitles, images in the proper ratio. So you always want to think mobile. Mobile, because most people are using mobile on their mobile phones, whether that be in the browser or via an app. Okay, next question. How can you use social media to promote your event? Okay, so you got an event coming up. I want to promote it. So you're going to turn to social media, and the first thing you do is have affiliates, fans, and attendees share resources about the event. Okay, leverage your community, in other words. Okay, you can remarket the event to potential attendees using Facebook ads. So you can do remarketing, and remarketing is basically, hey, somebody who's seen it or been there or done that, you're retargeting those people. You can use photos of attendees in social updates. So depending on the event, you can have some really high profile attendees speaking at the event or just attending the event. So use photos to drive excitement about the event. Okay, you can create a uniform hashtag that can be shared across multiple channels. You can mention the event, all social media bios, so don't just limit it to one. Cross promote it on Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. And what you could do is, if you've run other events in the past, create a highlight reel from prior events. Show people, hey, your events are the events you must attend. They're the go-to events because they're popular. They're successful, good attendees, usually good attendance. And then some other things you could do here, share behind the scenes visual content. And again, you could share pictures of guest speakers along with their quotes. Okay, so you want to do everything possible at your disposal, especially on social media, to really pump up the event. Next question, how can you perform A/B testing on your ads? So for those of you that listen intently on the email marketing part, remember, A/B testing is key with email marketing. What do we test in an email? We're testing subject lines, we're testing layout, we're testing call to action. So the same thing here on social media. You want to do continuous A/B testing to figure out what works and doesn't work. It's very simple. The great thing about Facebook is they got an A/B test feature built in. So you can certainly test different ads. Great thing about Facebook I like is that you can simply start out with an ad by running an A/B test. You could simply test the imagery. It could be a male versus a female. You could test the call to action. A lot of things you could test. So things you can change are, again, color of the elements. You could change the positioning. You could change the audience you're targeting, the call to action. I mean, everything, because the whole point is you want to see which one works, which one doesn't work. So testing can be done initially on broader elements and then smaller, finer details like statements in your ad copy. So you could start out big just by testing the imagery. And so if the female tends to work better than the male, then you know what works in terms of imagery. Well, take the next step and start honing in on, say, the message. And then once you figure out what message works, then you can move to the next element, like CTA. Some interesting questions you may get include, what are some things to focus on when setting up your ad creative? This goes back almost to the A/B testing. You want to use ad creative that's attention grabbing and relevant for your business. So use a primary but bold color scheme. So you also want to stay away from clip art. Okay, so again, align your imagery really is important on social media. Don't use some basic cheap clip art. You don't necessarily always have to use stock imagery either. I mean, it could be imagery you took that's very relevant and unique to your product. But if you do that, don't use low resolution pixelated images. Use images that are well lit. So decide on the aesthetic you want for your creative. Clean and minimal or colorful and bright, vibrant. It really depends on the advertisement, what it is you're trying to promote. Okay? So some other things to focus on here. To create attention grabbing ads, show images of people benefiting from your product. And Coca-Cola has done this forever. When have you never seen a Coca-Cola commercial with somebody with a smile on your face drinking a bottle of Coke? I don't think I've ever seen an advertisement. So when it comes to food, you should always have somebody in there enjoying the food. If it comes to clothes, you should have somebody looking like they really enjoy wearing these clothes and they look great in them. You want to accentuate that with, some nice coloring, sticking with your brand guidelines. Okay, so imagery really is important here. So you do need to make sure the ad works for your brand without requiring explanatory copy. The image should basically speak for itself. Okay, so let's finish up with content marketing. Content marketing, another big digital marketing channel, a lot of work out there. So if you're going in for an interview, let's review some of the questions you may get asked. Okay, so starting out, what are the essential components of a good web content? Okay, so essential components. Okay, so what do we want our content to do? Well, we want it to be useful. So web content should be written in a way which caters to what the reader wants. Okay, so somebody's not going to read your content if it's not useful for them. Okay, this because it affects reader engagement. Okay, so if it's not interesting, it's not useful, somebody's just not going to read it. Plain and simple. It also has to be engaging. So listen, even if it is relevant to a user, you still have to write the content so it's engaging. So you want to add elements like imagery, videos. Hey, you could even turn your content into an infographic. Okay, you want to do something that's going to be engaging for the user. If it's engaging, they're going to read it and engage with the content. Okay, and then good content should have some call to action. So content must be written in a way that can drive call to action. Okay, so if you're writing a blog post, I've seen a lot of blog posts just simply start and end with good content. But it doesn't leave the user with anywhere to go. So have that call to action. Put some internal links in that content. Give somebody a place to go after they're done engaging with the good content that you write. Okay, so some other things to think about, some other components for good content. Well, credibility. So, anybody can write, but are you writing about something you know what you're writing about? Are you a good talking point, a good expert, or have experience about this content? So you also want to use, information from a legitimate source. Okay, so you don't want to grab something and use it in your content that's just not legitimate, because it does hurt your credibility and the organization's credibility. And then also originality. Write something that nobody else has written. So obviously you don't want to plagiarize, because if you plagiarize, then there are tools out there where people can easily just put their content in there to see what else is out there, see if somebody else has plagiarized it. So it's very easy to find people who plagiarize. So don't be that person. What I would recommend, create a good content calendar and come up with some ideas before you write them. Next question related to content marketing. So what are the types of content you can create? Well, there are a lot of things you can create. Start with the blog. Blog, to me, is always a great place to start. It's a blank canvas for your ideas, your thoughts, your opinions. Okay, that's a great thing about a blog. It accentuates personality. You can create a video. Videos are always engaging. You can create an infographic. Infographics, to me, are, a hidden gem. Instead of somebody reading the same old, you're laying this out in a very visual way that's easy to understand. Create a case study. Okay, so if you're digital marketing expert, done social media for another client, write about it. Show the successes, show that you are an expert, show that you've created successful campaigns in social in the form of a case study. You can create a white paper. White papers are good educational pieces. You can also create an ebook. Okay, ebook, hey, if you have a lot of content, you want to lay it out, an ebook's a good way to go. You have a lot of choices here when it comes to content, a lot of choices. Okay, so what are the advantages of having a content calendar? So I alluded to that just a couple of seconds ago. So let's really break this down here, because content calendars to me are so important. Well, first of all, calendar part of content calendar allows you to think about dates. So if you're planning something, you're going to have important dates in mind. Okay, so content calendar, it almost ensures you don't miss anything, that's a good opportunity for you to leverage, like, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. It's probably important when those days are if you're in e-commerce. So that's why having a content calendar helps. It helps you plan out your content based on important dates, or based on dates that work for what you're trying to do. They also help because you could stick to a consistent schedule. Okay, so if you don't have a content calendar, you're probably just arbitrarily writing content here and there. Well, what if your users crave and really engage with the content? They're going to want more. Sticking to something consistent is going to really get people to come back for more. They know when you're going to post. They're going to be waiting for it. And if it's every Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock, hey, post it Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock. Your users will get used to that schedule. And it does help build up your following. It does help build up your community. And in the end, cultivates a long-lasting relationship. Okay, and then having a content calendar also allows you to mix up your content. Okay, so you can see and plan ahead different types of content in different formats. That way, it allows you to mix it up. Okay, whether it be a blog post, an infographic, a video about different topics. Okay, some other advantages here: saving time. It just allows you to prepare for the future. When you can prepare, you're efficient. And when you're efficient, you're not wasting time. And so to me, having a content calendar is a must, because a lot of us are busy. Who has time? And especially if you're going to work in a new company, so let's say writing content, you definitely want to have a content calendar, because you're going to want to use that time to efficiently plan. This is a new company you're going to start working at. You want to understand who this company is, what they've done in the past, what you haven't done, and what you want to do. Okay, so all of that helps you plan and prepare, and it saves you the time and effort and hassle down the road. And then at the end of the day, you want to be able to figure out what works. So planning your post puts less strain on you and your team members, as well as company resources, because when you plan and you post, you're going to get data. And then when you get data, it's either going to work or not work. And if it doesn't work, then in the future, you're not going to put that piece of content or that topic in the content calendar again. It's that simple. Okay, some other advantages fresh content. Okay, so having a content calendar allows you to always keep content fresh. Again, you're going to be on a consistent schedule, and you're not going to be writing about the same things over and over again. So it could be just simply Twitter. If you're putting a content calendar and together for Twitter, well, you don't want to have the same tweets every other day. So it does ensure that you're getting tweets out there that are fresh, that are new, that are different. And again, figure out what works. A content calendar makes it easier to measure results and optimize performance. So you always want to, maybe put some metrics in with your content calendar so you can see side by side content historically that is performed, content that is not performed. Okay, so next question you may get. What type of content works in each stage of the customer lifecycle? So you have awareness, engagement, purchase, post-purchase, advocacy. Okay, so let's break these down here. So awareness, okay, so you want people to understand who you are. Okay, that could be a guest blog, an influencer helping you out. It could be a cold email, a video that can potentially go viral, a social media post, introducing a product. You have engagement. So you want people to engage with your content. What are you going to do to get people to engage? Well, you could certainly write an email and have people open that email and go to your website. You can have an ebook where people can actually download and read it. Or you can have a blog where people can comment, or a landing page where they can fill out a form submission. You have evaluation. So with social media, we know there's a lot of engagement going on, but when you're putting content out there, you can certainly open it up to testimonials. Okay, you can generate white papers. Okay, or you can generate case studies. Case studies are a good way for companies to evaluate what you've done in the past. If you've worked for a specific product in the past and it's worked, you certainly want to put that out there for potential clients in that same industry. Purchase. Trying to get people to purchase, what are you going to do? Well, you can certainly have landing pages, a nice, website, a nice shopping cart with some nice content. Okay, onboarding emails. Get those emails out there and get people to go back to the website and purchase. Of course, you can have product and service details as well, meaning, one page downloadable PDFs that describe the product. Okay, you have post-purchase. Okay, so people who've already purchased, you can certainly send out follow-up emails. You can do blog roundups, give people an opportunity to see what features or updates are happening to the product. Okay, of course, case studies of repeat customers or content types that detail a new feature or service. Okay, so if somebody's already purchased, you may want to send them some content of another product that complements the product they bought. So a lot of things you can do to engage with your user who's already purchased. And then advocacy. You want people to help you out here. So have the user generate the content. You can have exclusive discounts for your community. They're going to be your advocates, so give them exclusive discounts. And then pictures of customers engaging with your products. Okay, who's not going to share that? So you're going to have people share that information. In other words, you can generate content where, hey, people can help you out here and be your advocate. Okay, so how do you decide what topic and subject to write on? Okay, well, going back to the content calendar, that always helps you to see what you've put in that content calendar. But there are some other methods you can use. And you could certainly identify your target audience. And not only identify your target audience, but what their needs are. Okay, so you can write content based on audience. So you could certainly do some research with keywords. Okay, what's trending? What keywords are not trending? Okay, and write around what's trending, for example. Okay, you could certainly take a look at social media, for example, Quora. I always look at Quora. Quora is interesting, entertaining, informational. Hey, people are certainly having conversations on Quora. And you can certainly analyze those conversations because they certainly get in depth, and you can decide, hey, do I want to write a topic around something that really just won't go away in terms of conversing? Quora is a good example of analyzing conversations. They tend to be a little bit more in depth. So some other things you could do, you can look at your competitors and what kind of conversations are happening on your competitors' blogs or your competitors' social media platforms and pages. You can keep track of blogs and articles from subject matter experts, commentators, critics, and so on. Okay, so you can get ideas from them. Another question you may get, which is very important, if you're going to start working for a company, you need to understand the tone of your content, because that is going to fit and be in line with the company you're working for. Okay, so you're always going to have a brand personality. So the characteristics of a brand are the guidelines based on which the content strategy is developed. The tone of the content must align itself to the content strategy. Your audience profile. So you need to determine who your audience is. Okay, and how the brand wants to be seen by that audience. So, if you have an older audience, you're not going to use younger audience, i.e. street lingo or today's lingo and the younger generation. You're going to use language that's going to fit the audience you're talking to. And then, of course, the channel itself. So the content you create must be irrespective of the channel and consistent with brand attributes. Okay, so you gotta pick and choose the channel. If it's LinkedIn, for example, hey, LinkedIn's more business oriented. Okay, so you're not gonna be, as humorous as you would be, say, on Instagram or Facebook. All of these have one thing in common. Again, that's brand guidelines. You have to stay within the brand. What is the brand's personality? How do we want to talk to our audience? And what platform are we using to talk to our audience? How do you promote your content once it's live? Well, that's always a good question. Hey, you doing the work, putting in the hard work to create this, it could be a video, and videos take a long time. It could be an infographic, an ebook. Okay, so send it out via email. Okay, if you have an email list, send it out and let people know this content's there. Put a link in the email or even a piece or snippet or preview of the content in the email. So you're using the email to broadcast and encourage people to, if it's an ebook, get the rest of the ebook. Okay, you can certainly leverage social media to engage with your community. That's the best, just as good as email. Get out there and let people know, hey, I got my book published. Come and download it. You can give a discount to the first 100 people that download it. Okay, you can always promote your content via ads. So whether that be Google or Facebook, you always have an opportunity to be more prominent by advertising the content that you have to offer. So you can always reach out on social media, again, targeting interesting people directly. So you can always interact with people on social, or you can write for others. Attract people from the web to important pages of your website by guest posting. So you can always go onto a popular blog post and write something and, link it up or have it be relevant to the content you've written. So next question, how can you determine how well your content is doing? Okay, very important. Again, you've done all the work. You've put the content calendar together. You got the content ready to go. It's published. You're promoting it. Social, email, guest blogging, but you want to determine how it's doing. Well, depends on the channel, really is what it comes down to. So if it's organic search, you want to be able to see if it's ranking for the keywords you optimize that content for. If it's social, you want to be able to see if you have engagement, shares, comments, etc. Of course, you can always look at analytics and see how much traffic that blog post is getting, or that page with the white paper is getting. Okay, so you can always look at your analytics and look at the traffic. Okay, and again, you can always look to see if there are conversions in the form of an inquiry or lead or sale. So at the end of the day, you want to align the content with the channel, and you want to align the KPI with the content in channel. Okay, so if it's social, you're not likely going to get conversions unless you're doing paid ads. If you're posting organically on social, then you're probably going to get some engagement. So you have to align the right metric with the right channel. What are the steps involved in the content marketing process? Okay, so you really need to decide what goal you want to achieve with the content marketing campaign. So that goes back to what I was just saying a minute ago. If you have content, you post it on social, then what's the goal? What are you trying to achieve? Well, you're probably going to get engagement and likes. You need to define buyer personas to determine the audience best suited for your content. Okay, so you're always writing for an audience, and you're going to market that content for that audience. So you always got to keep that in mind. Okay, run content audits to determine the best type of content that can be used. In other words, how did it perform? What kind of engagement did you get with the infographic? Or did that video really perform well? Or do we want to use, a blog post next time around or an image next time around? So continuing on here, you want to choose an appropriate content management system. Okay, so how are we managing all this content? Okay, is it WordPress or is it another platform? Okay, you could start brainstorming for ideas for new content. So again, that goes back to the content calendar. You leverage your content calendar to always create ideas for new content. Okay, then you want to settle on a particular type of content that you want to create. Okay, so once you come up and you're managing your content, you come up with some ideas, then you obviously want to choose the format. And then, of course, you want to publish and manage your content after it's all said and done. So these are the steps involved. Again, just quickly decide on the goal, the KPI, decide on your audience, look at what's worked and not worked in the past, get your content set up in the platform, okay, or get the platform ready to go, I should say. Okay, generate ideas with that content calendar, or ideally go to the content calendar for the ideas. Choose that type and then publish and manage. And when I say manage, I mean, again, going back to analytics or going back to the KPI that you align with that content to see if it's performing or not. Okay, so next question here. How do you target the right audience for your content? It's a very good question. You're not writing content for everyone. Let's be honest here. So you have to collect demographics of your target audience based on who's coming to your website, based on who's subscribed to your emails, based on who's following you on social media. So in other words, you have people interacting with you, okay, in different channels, and you need to understand who these people are. So, do they fit a certain age range or generation? Are they skewed more female to male? Education level? What's their affinity or interest? Okay, do they have a certain income? So you need to really break down your audience here, and you could do that in analytics. You could do that on social. You can do that just by looking at your email list. Okay, all those will paint a picture as to who your audience is. Okay, so good luck to you, whether you're interviewing for content marketing, social, email, pay-per-click, SEO. You're going to have a plethora of questions being asked to you. Hopefully these questions are well suited for your interview. If you guys were asked any questions that weren't brought up in this video, then feel free to comment below. I'd love to see what other questions are being asked in digital marketing interviews. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to visit us at Simplilearn.com. I want to thank you for hanging in there, and good luck, and we'll see you on the next video.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.